Workers' comp is good and bad in its own way, and this is where it's kind of weird. Here's the thing about workers' comp. When you're applying for workman's compensation, it's really based on the concept that you got injured on the work and that injury has impacted your ability to do the work that you normally were provided to do. Reality is, at the end of the day, most employers, they want you back in the workforce. They really do. And workman's comp, ultimately, when they're looking, they're trying to ascertain how limiting your condition is. And most instances, trying to give give the employer and the insurance carrier, the adjuster, some definitive indication of what specific limitations you have, and more importantly, how those limitations would affect you at your workplace, and if there are jobs available at their workplace that you can do with those limitations. Now, you would ask yourself, you would say, well, it's good. Well, what's good about it and what's bad about it? One thing that I would probably say, one of the things I would probably say that's bad about it is that at the end of the day, workman's comp docs, they're interested in trying to, and I hate to say it because they're not all like this. They're not and some of you are going to say they're in the employer's pocket. I'm going to say that the workman's comp's responsibility is really to get an idea of the limitations from your condition and see whether or not they believe viably you can get back to work. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, your employer wants you back to work. So sometimes I have to remind people to keep it in its proper context. That sometimes when you're looking at the medical evidence, and not all of them are like that, and so I don't want you running into the court saying, you can't give consideration to what my workers' comp doc said. They're trying to put me back to work. They work for the employer. There's some degree of truth to that, but it's not completely true. They're trying to ascertain how limiting your condition is. The good part is when you're going through a workman's comp situation, typically the employer you're going through a doctor, which is a part of the insurance carrier protocol program, or that you're utilizing through your employer. So that basically means your medical records, your medicals are getting taken care of. Medical records are provided by workers' comp docs. Any limitation forms or assessments or even independent medical examinations are done at the expense of the insurance carrier. So it's great from that standpoint because now you have some definitive documentation with limitations that you can provide to Social Security. The only thing that kind of stinks sometimes is that in most cases, in a lot of cases, not every one, but a lot of cases, the limitations may or may not be as bad as you think. So in essence, if they determine that you can do light duty, well, unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily help your Social Security case if you're a younger individual, because Social Security is almost always going to find that you can do work at the light level. Almost the same way at the sedentary level. But I always tell people this. It's helpful from the standpoint that you've got medical treatment, you've got medical documentation of your limitations, but it's bad because in some instances, depending on what those documents say, they could sometimes be hurtful than they are helpful. It's important also to realize, and I've talked about this in other videos, that if you receive workers' comp benefits and you ultimately receive Social Security, there's an offset. There's a potential for an offset, meaning there's a potential that your Social Security disability benefits may be reduced based on the workers' comp benefits you're receiving as well. They work well hand in hand with each other sometimes, but sometimes it can be a pain in the backside.